For several years, I lived in this town that won this award for being the happiest city in America by some magazine. That same magazine also voted it the dumbest city in America based on it was something about college degrees and how much access there was to education, which is ridiculous because intelligence and education have nothing to do with each other. There are a lot of dumb, educated people. But it played into this idea that ignorance is bliss, that sometimes it's just better not to know and just go along blindly not knowing. King Solomon, he kind of addresses this in Ecclesiastes 1:16-18. He says, I said to myself, look, I've increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I've experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly. But I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Hemingway said it this way. He said, happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing I know. There's this element of the more you know, the more miserable it can actually make you. And I think a picture of that is what we're living in today. How much information and knowledge do we have access to? More than anyone in the history of the world. But how much misery are most people living in? I mean, if you watch the news all day, I can guarantee you're going to be a depressed person. Maybe you're going to need to check yourself into a mental institution soon because there's so much information out there. And the crazy thing is, a lot of us think if I can just get a little bit more information about my situation, if I can just get a little more information, I'll be safe or protected or happy. And the fact is, oftentimes more information just makes you miserable. Awareness is actually costly. Of course, lack of awareness is also costly. So the challenge is to find this balance between not being ignorant, having some knowledge, but also recognizing that when you know something, it actually can make you miserable. In fact, one of the challenges of knowledge is that it's kind of called I've heard it called the curse of knowledge. Once you know something, you forget what it's like to not know something, which means you end up going around looking at people making dumb decisions and they're like, how do they not know that's going to go well? And you're like, what is the deal? Why would they not know that? They just don't know. And one of the challenges we face is how to communicate to people something they don't know. And unfortunately, sometimes we only learn through suffering and challenge. So what's the balance here? And King Solomon's saying, really, it's a constant balance here for trying to find under the sun of, do I need more information or is this enough information? And I think if we're constantly being driven to get more knowledge, more information, it really can torment us. It's a weird thing to say that, but I think we're on information overload in our day-to-day, and which is why a lot of us are miserable and unhappy. And so maybe the best thing you can do is turn off some of the access to knowledge you have and say, I'm not going to refuse to learn. I'm not going to refuse to get more, but I'm not going to be constantly consuming more stuff that's just going to make me miserable. I think King David, he talked about this idea in Psalm 131:1. He says, my heart is not proud, Lord. My eyes are not haughty. I don't concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. But I've calmed and quieted myself. I'm like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I'm content. There's a point where we get to, we go, you know what? I'm not going to be able to figure it all out. There's some things in life I'm just not going to figure out. I'm going to choose to be content right now, and I'm going to trust that when I need more information, the Lord's going to give me that information. I'm going to find access to what I need. But for now, I'm going to, we should always be on a quest to improve ourselves, but sometimes you just got to limit things, limit the amount you're putting in your head, and decide to be happy right now. And it's a weird balance. King Solomon, so much wisdom in the book of Ecclesiastes, and every day this month I'm going to be sharing that wisdom from King Solomon best as I can. I don't understand all of it. I'm still learning some of it, but I would encourage you, man, share this, like this, find somebody that might help, that maybe they're watching too much news and they need to just turn it off. Maybe it's you. Maybe you need to turn off the news and say, I don't need any more information this week. I'm just going to relax in what I know and find peace. That's my prayer for you this week, that through the wisdom of Solomon, you'll find peace. And I encourage you to subscribe. All these channels, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and all of them. So subscribe, like, and share this with a friend. Have a great week. Have a great morning.